Alright, cleaning up the engine bay some more. Cleaned up all the dirty areas. I took off this intake thing for the bumper. Goes to the cold air intake. I gotta clean that up. Probably gonna get a new one just because it's so faded and cracked. But yep, all the wiring's getting cleaned up. You can see I'm working on the radiator fan right now. Outside drying. Had to clean it up. Got all the wiring done. You can see the new loom there. Cleaned up majority of this engine bay. Still got to get back there in that corner and that corner as well. But all the wiring's done. Cool tape on. Got the boost switch for the Kenny valve booster pump tucked away. The wiring for the methanol injection cleaned up. All the other wires that were already cool wrapped, more cool wrap on them, fresh new lines. Got some of that titanium wrap on a couple of the lines that are closer to the headers, so I did that just in case. I don't want the lines burning through like they did before. Also the dry sump tank lines are re-wrapped, also cleaned up. Still got to work on this slave cylinder and get that out so I could see if I could fix that little bend mark from the engine while I was pulling it out. And yeah, all the lines are cleaned up. Everything's pretty much clean in here besides the coolant hoses. I still got to clean those up. Probably going to move them to AN lines. We'll see. I'm not sure yet. But I'm trying to reroute a couple things, even the power steering cooler. I just don't like how it looks, and I think I'm going to reroute that in front here where the bumper's at and try and guide some air to it. Also got to clean up the oil cooler, rewrap the other header. Just waiting on parts for now. Everything's sitting over there. Cylinder heads up there. Still going to clean the intake, polish a couple things, and take the block off to the machine shop so I can get those sleeves in. Those will be here Saturday, so gotta go take that in. I don't know how long the lead time is on it, but we'll see. Gotta order all the bearings. Also gotta order some new valve springs, and new valves, exhaust and intake for the, I forget which cylinder head, but I think it's the passenger side cylinder head that I have to order new valves for because I nicked them, and I'll put in a video of that. But yeah, so far so good. Just waiting on parts, really. All right, I'm setting up the new converter here, the 5-volt converter from Elke. I'm also redoing all these vacuum lines and this, I forget what this is called, but I'm redoing that. This is the old one here, all beat up. I'm extending lines, doing a couple things, just routing things differently than what it was done before. Took out the coolant reservoir so that I can run lines behind it, try and clean up the engine bay a little bit. I got the map sensor mounted up right here, just some 3M tape. I'm gonna put the converter right next to it. Just trying to extend the lines so that I can get it, enough space to reach to these behind the coolant reservoir. And yeah, just getting new vacuum lines. All right, so I wanted to get you guys updated on what I plan doing next for the car. I figured I'd break it down and show you guys which parts I may or will be buying. Currently, the block was at the engine shop. It's almost done. They said they have about another week or two until they finish the honing of the block. They said the sleeves aren't necessary from what they can tell, and that a slight hone should be able to clean up the bores. So I'm hoping that fixes that, and I don't have to rebuy those Darton sleeves because the block is already Darton sleeve from what I can tell. I don't want to spend another $1,200 for sleeves and another $700 in labor, or whatever it may cost them to do it, if I don't really need it. But they're also grinding down the crankshaft. It had slight scoring on the journals for both the rods and the main caps, but at the time of recording this audio, they said they're already done with that, and they should be moving on to the boring of the cylinder walls pretty soon. They're also resurfacing the heads, just the face of them, and ensuring that the valves I have will match up with the valve springs that I bought with that cam kit. So the springs should be good for the camshaft, but there's still a lot of parts I have to buy, and being that I'm working on the new color wrap as well, it just gives me more time to save up money for the buy once, cry once situations that I'm dealing with. That being said, the parts I plan on buying, starting with the cam kit, is from BTR. It's a Stage 3 NA LS7 crankshaft, camshaft, sorry, with 660 lift, with the corresponding 660 lift springs and titanium valve caps, sticking around the cylinder head area. I still have to buy the new valve guides for the passenger cylinder head because I did score the bronze valve guides. But from what they said, that it should be fine. Those valve guides shouldn't need to be replaced. It's basically just an extra oiling groove. As long as those valves don't wobble around, I'm sure it's going to be fine. But the shop told me that the valve should be fine, especially with that nick on the retainer valve for the locking groove for the the valve keepers. They told me it should be fine to run, so I'm going to trust them on that. I know it's a risk, but I'm willing to take it. But the heads are already ported, so it's going to be the same volume it has since the previous owner claimed the block should be a 9-to-1 compression ratio, which I am going to double check in future videos. We're going to be taking measurements of that just to reassure that let the tuner know that the engine is a 9-to-1 compression. I definitely don't want to skimp out on any of the parts, especially the one that broke, which the lifters. I plan on getting those Johnson link bar lifters just to ensure it can deal with the new cam and I don't have to worry about the stock lifter trays. That being said, I will be buying new push rods, which I still have to order. Once I get that block back, I'm going to start doing that push rod length check. We'll have a video on that as well, but I'm far from that anyways. Since engines opened up, I figured I might as well replace all bearings. I have to. They're all scored and they look like they've seen some heat. So I'm going to replace the rod bearings, main cap bearings, camshaft bearings, all with King Racing performance bearings. So yeah, well, I'll do a video on that too with checking tolerances. That's actually going to be pretty soon, with those new bearings to make sure that they are at the right clearance for my power level. I don't plan on making much more horsepower because I don't want to end up having to buy a built transmission and differential to avoid blowing those up. I do plan on getting that transmission brace just to tighten up that transmission and make sure it doesn't shake around too much with the the wheel hop. But I'm looking also into upgrading those wrist pins on the pistons, since the Waseco recommended that the pins that come with that piston kit that I have are only rated for sub 700 horsepower. And if I do end up getting the new wrist pins, I will have to rebalance the entire rotating assembly since they're heavier than the sub 700 horsepower wrist pins, of course. There's still miscellaneous things I have to buy, such as the ATR harmonic balancer, head gaskets, oil pan gasket, valley cover gasket, exhaust gaskets, oil cooler gaskets, coolant, all those things. They all add up, but slowly but surely I'm getting them. There's only a couple more things now that I have to get, and I will be explaining a lot of the process, and especially with like the engine oils I'm going to be using to break in the engine. I still got to get it tuned, at least on a base tune, or maybe tow it to the shop and go ahead and get it tuned and dialed in for the the new build, fresh build. I got to get it done with that new camshaft. So that's basically a little bit of a breakdown. I do have a lot more going on, and I will be getting an update for you guys shortly. I should be getting the block back pretty soon. But yeah, there's that, and yeah, excited for the new build. It's gonna be great. I'm especially excited for that camshaft. I can't wait to hear it chopping in on the road again.